Hi, Alan Stratton here from CostMatters.com. Standard costs and particularly overhead absorption have drawn fire. It's fires from people who use problems that they've observed in this area to promote their own solution. But before we buy into this, let's examine what's really going on here. Generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP, require manufacturing overhead to be inventoried. What this really means is that the company's income statement gets a credit when overhead costs are moved over to inventory. Of course, later, when the product is sold, this cost comes back to the income statement as cost of goods sold. If inventory is relatively constant, the net effect over time is neutral. The problem is when managers and companies are motivated more by the absorption credit than by the bottom line. They may build products that are not needed, or emphasize products that yield more absorption credit, or they may inflate the standard. Most often this has a short-term effect. No company can afford to increase inventory indefinitely. Inventory cost must eventually flow back to the income statement one way or another. Worse yet is when customer orders are ignored to push other orders that yield more absorption but are not really saleable. I submit the problem is not necessarily standard cost or the requirement to absorb overhead. The problem is in performance measurement and management, the compensation system, and/or the company's culture. The old adages are, you get what you measure and you get what you pay for. If performance measures overemphasize one measure, distortions will result. Examples of this are really everywhere. Compensation systems that overemphasize one measure aggravate distortion as managers manipulate or game the system. And if the company's culture rewards this sort of behavior, there is no quick fix. Speaking of games, early in my career, I worked at Atari, where we made the original video game consoles. Shortly before the demise of the original Atari, we found a batch of defective power supplies 1 week before the end of the quarter. Replacements were already on their way from Korea, but by boat. They would arrive a week into the next quarter. Without the replacements, we could not meet our production targets. Supposedly, the game consoles were for immediate customer commitments and must be shipped before the end of the quarter. Missing the production target and not shipping meant no bonus this quarter. We spent thousands of dollars to air freight thousands of heavy power supplies to get the replacements delivered a week earlier to meet our production target. Add to this cost as manufacturing worked overtime into the weekend to complete the order for shipment before the quarter ended. Target achieved. However, a few weeks later, there they were, the completed consoles, still in the warehouse, not shipped. Is overhead absorption to be blamed? Not really. Quarterly bonuses depended on meeting production targets. Management gamed the system for their bonus payout. The 800-pound gorilla is the company's culture and management incentives, not the standard cost system. Standard costs and overhead absorption are tools. We need to know how to use our tools effectively, when to use them and when not to use them. Any system can be manipulated by improperly motivated people, and don't blame the tool when it is used carelessly. And we'll explore standard costs more in future posts. So what are your experiences using standard costs? I'm sure you have a few of those stories and that you could share them below this post at CostMatters.com. When cost matters, profits soar. I'm Alan Stratton from CostMatters.com. Thank you.